You know, this my name's Margaret Ann Windsor. Kidnapped in 41 from Buckingham Palace. Born in 39. Brought to Moulton, Alabama. Given the name of a dead twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married a Childers. Both twins, in fact, were dead, killed by their mother. They were illegitimate of birth. I grew up in a pigsty. The assaults and battery and every rotten, sick thing done to me. It never stopped in this land of the free and home of the brave. Now, I have begged, I've pleaded, the civil rights groups, attorneys won't touch it because the people that kidnapped me control the media and everything now, the global. The Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Bilderbergers, the Roosevelts, and the good Kennedys. Oh, the Kennedys. You know, in all this putting up, and I usually put up documents, I couldn't make the mess up. There's a timeline, it can't be disproved. But then nobody, as long as you don't print it and make the people see the ugly truth that they did to me and my sons here in this country, to my mom and dad and my country, and shame them. Most of all, they need locked up for the crimes they committed. One nation under God. Now, I reached this point. I am one of the people that loved and loved everybody. And you know, just about everybody here in this country and some in my own country have done nothing but crucify me. And there's no other word for it. Ongoing crimes, tortured. Now, I have seen, and I've put up on YouTube, some on Facebook, all the protests the last few days, the women's rights all over the world, and all the ACLU, NAACP, the attorneys are descending upon all the refugees or immigrants that want to come to this country or etc. Some of their rights, they have rights, I don't. So I'll leave it at that. I can't get an attorney. The media won't touch it. It's controlled. Well, they don't want to. They don't want to tell the truth about me. Now, this is the real America. I was just looking. I've told about, they've really committed every crime against me and my sons. I don't even know if my sons are alive or dead, and I haven't in a long, long time. YouTube, a friend of mine, I guess he still is. Maybe they didn't get to him. Gave me the video, the phone, because I've been left a pauper and I don't have clothes. I don't have my crown. I guess you could say I have a crown of thorn. Now, don't you go and make anything out of that, because if I had one, it would be a crown of thorns that they gave me. I was just looking at Kennedy, and he was part of my kidnapping. His father was appointed ambassador to England by a Jew, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president. 1936, oddly enough, that's when they took my dad down. My dad was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, Windsor, sister to artist Georgia O'Keeffe, born in Madison, Wisconsin. My mom was a school teacher. It was a plot to take my father down, so it didn't matter who my mother was, really. My father didn't go along with their corrupt means of the New World Order, Freemasons, Illuminati. And a lot of them were the Jews, the ones that control your banking and everything now. The Rockefellers, Rothschilds are Jews. And then you got the Kennedy clan. I have my father, it was a forced abdication in December of 36. He was married to my mom. This plot to take him down was character assassination, and a double married Wallace Simpson. Became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor and died in 72 and was buried at Frogmore Windsor Castle. Dig him up. get his DNA, but there's no doubt in who I am. I was born Victoria II because the addendum to my father's forced abdication was legal. Went through channels, and I understand that Winston Churchill tried to take it, destroy all the papers and everything. He was part of the kidnapping. So it was a mass plot, and they did it. They changed history, everything. Used illegal treaties to invade the UK, and thus some of my family went along with it because it was a positioning. Once you take over the UK, then they went after everything British. Took down the king, stole the monarch. The day I was born, Victoria II, heir to the British crown, would have brought my father back as guardian and power of attorney. So then my Uncle George, the illegal six, Elizabeth's father, and this whole bunch kidnapped me and literally stole my father's identity too. I'm looking, the reason the Warren Commission covered all the Kennedy shooting up because it would lead back to my kidnapping, because the older Kennedy and JFK actually flew into the embassy, stayed with their father there. How's that? In England, and before and after my kidnapping. So, there's an air base near Moulton, Alabama. Back then, there was nothing. My guess is a good one, since I didn't swim across the pond at age 2, that they flew me in there. Now, the way I've been treated is I hope it's choked down your throat or shoved down your throat and you choke on it, because it is hell. It is total hell. This is really the Americans. They stole it. Wasn't enough during the Revolution. They come along and took my father down, kidnapped me, tortured me all my life, and then they want to give it away. And all the attorneys can't wait. But they didn't give a... I had a vet back in 1980. They put antifreeze in me back then. I'd written a book about mind control murders. You don't hear any of that being told. You can mass program armies now, etc. Back then, Larry Flint was one of them that was shot, and I say that because he did an endorsement. I ran in a campaign, and everybody knows who Larry Flint is. The person that shot him was programmed, March of 78. But I'm getting away from it, I guess. They put antifreeze in me, and I was shoved in a car and illegally transported across the state line from my home in Marietta, Georgia, to Huntsville, Alabama, with the woman that had killed her twins, and they put me there and told me she was my mother. She's a psychopath. How sick. I always knew she wasn't my mother. But, the odd thing, and I saw this afterwards, it's been on TV, Forensic Files and things like that, where Cobb County's Marietta, where the antifreeze was put in me. Nobody's ever paid for any of the list of crimes done against me. But I saw that where from Forsyth County, I believe there was one official, and then I believe there was a police connected to the Cobb County police. But Forsyth County is, Forsyth was one of the doctors I worked for, but this is the county name, and there's a reason I put that in there. Anyway, there was 2 of them after this happened to me that were given by the antifreeze. It's a living hell if you live. I shouldn't have lived. And I got a feeling this video is going to go out, so I'm going to say this. The way I've been treated by the Americans, they couldn't wait to gobble up my money and the hostage money and everything that went in it. And they hated me. They denied me the right to even say my name or even mention anything about my kidnapping or the crimes. They didn't want to hear it. They don't care. Well, I look at Kennedy. I Googled just now again because someone sent me a message. And they laid it out. Everybody loved him, this funeral. And they're talking about they blew his head off. I wonder what, and this is just a couple of the things they did to me, you all, Americans. And part of my family have let it happen and engaged in it by kidnapping and stealing from me and from my sons. Um, what do you think it's like to have antifreeze put in your brain and you should die? If you think it's so much fun, it was okay to do it to me. That's what you're saying. It's a hell on earth. The fact that I even lived through it, especially under the conditions I did. 1980, April Fool Day. How about that? April Fool, they can kidnap the British monarch. They can put antifreeze in me. And I'm going to go back to, there's more. There's lots more I haven't put up. I want to go back to this, though. Henry Kissinger, the Watergate files. Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State and Defense under Nixon. At one point back then, I was taken from Victor Gonzalez's office, a sick dude. I had, I don't know what was put in me, a cup of coffee, and I knew everything was going on, but I couldn't cry out or anything. And they dragged me, put me in his car, took me to College Park, Georgia, across the city to College Park, to the trolley tracks back then, and not a very good clinic, but it was still there in 82, so this was in 72. 72, yeah, I think. It was during the Nixon. And they put me back there on the table, and there was doctors with masks across from me, 4 or 5, in the other room across the hall. I could see that. Doctor behind me with a mask on and a phone. And Gonzalez stood over me with a sick grin on his face. And the phone, I understood all of it. If the phone didn't ring with a whatever they ask of a hostage, and that was they were going to lobotomize me. Well, my people came through with it, the British, whoever, some of my family. I was allowed to go to live another day. Not one person has ever said they're sorry. That's a shame that this has happened. Some of my family did try to help. That's more in the German side. The real criminals are the Windsors and connected with them. And by the way, if this is probably not going to go up, it's probably out. But I found out through, and I won't mention her name again, I think she probably wants me to. She's a cousin of mine in this Windsor. And she told me that she grew up around the Kennedys. They would come and visit her. And this was when she was a child. And I don't think she's been treated very fairly. I don't know the whole thing about that. But the Kennedys had input then. I didn't know they were in a relationship, and maybe they aren't to me. I hope not. God, I hope not. Anyway, I'm going to quit here. The comparison is I didn't commit a crime. It wasn't enough that America was stolen and they called it a revolution and stole it from us. They took down my father, a beautiful man. My mom was an American. What a joke. You love, and excuse me, I'm going to, right at the moment, my life is rough. Princess Grace of Monaco. She's from the United States. And nothing against her, but you don't even hear my mom's name. You don't hear the truth about my father never married Wallace Simpson. He married my mom. You don't hear about me, Victoria II. You don't hear about my children and the torture that you've done to me. And I would say this, when I worked at Fred Simpson's district attorney in 80, after the antifreeze, they did a role-playing of the Watergate tapes, the 18-minute gap. That was when they were going to lobotomize me.